Call the meeting to order at 5:04. Sorry, we're a few minutes behind schedule. Turn this thing off. I entertain a motion to approve the agenda.
So moved.
And a second to that? Are there any changes to the agenda? Any discussion on the agenda? All in favor? Aye. Any nays? Passes. Public comments on closed session items. And we've already done closed session. And let's see, reporting out of closed session. I think Mark, you got the first part?
Do you want to do A, B, C?
Yeah, we talked about a classified or a certified leave of absence that we approved. We had a request for Willie Brown by 2 employees that are ones who are on it currently. We approved those. And we had an interdistrict transfer request. And D is Alex, correct?
Yep. So Barney will have to read these. Motion was made by Trustee King and seconded by Trustee Kovic to adopt a resolution of non-reelection and authorize the district superintendent or their designee to notify the employee that they will not be reelected for the 2019-20 school year. That was approved unanimously by roll call vote. A motion was made by Kovic, seconded by Trustee Chavez to adopt a resolution to release temporary certificated employees and authorize the district superintendent or their designee to notify the employees that they will be released at the end of the current school year. This was also by roll call vote, unanimously approved. And finally, a motion was made by Trustee King and seconded by Trustee Nunez to adopt a resolution to authorize the superintendent or designee to notify the school site administrators that they may be reassigned or released for the 2019-20 academic year pursuant to Ed Code Section 44951. The vote was as follows. Chavez, aye. Olds, aye. King, aye. Kolvig, abstain. And Nunez, aye. And if we can, Trustee Kolvig, if you'd lead some flag salute, please.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. And we're at Vector Grove School presentations.
Hello, and welcome to Vector Grove Middle School. I'm excited to not only give you a written board report this month like I usually do, but rather to introduce you to some of our students who are going to actually talk to you about some of the things that I tell you about in those board reports. So Vector Grove has a theme each month, and the theme for March is Cougars are successful. So what we would like to do is want to share some of our success stories with you. Okay, so we're going to start with art. As you know, we have our students' art on exhibit at the Arts Council. I hope that you've all had an opportunity to go and look at what our students have learned. Our art program is integrated with our social studies program, meaning that they study the same kind of art that they study in the history periods that they're studying. And we all know that visual art helps to improve students' concentration skills, their decision-making skills, their critical thinking skills, and of course it gives them a way to express themselves creatively. But it also encourages focus and discipline. So Ella, Caitlin, Addison, and Wyatt are going to tell you about their experience in the program, along with their teacher, who is responsible for their success, Ms. Burkhart.
In art, we do a lot of different projects. My favorite one that we've done was the picture of a famous person, and we had to draw it with a pencil, and it's in the art show. And there's lots of stuff in the art show that everybody's done.
Okay, so I like having art in my schedule because it gives me a chance to unwind during the day.
At my old school, we never did have art, so you never really got a time of the day to not be so stressed out about your grades or anything. So it's good to have art, to have something fun to do, instead of being worried about your grades all day.
I personally like art because it's a way to show, it's a way to get to your own life where you can do whatever you want. It's a way to show your creativity and to get your mind off stress.
Thank you.
Okay, so something that's on everybody's mind when we talk about middle school is student interactions. And to equip young people to act as a resource to help other young people is the concept called peer helping. Our peer helpers at Bethel Grove are students who are trained in mediating conflicts, and in mentoring students in emotional, social, societal, and academic struggles. This is one of the programs that's funded by our Willits Police Department. They funded it with $1,000 this year for the program, and we want to thank them. And Shayla, Kyra are here to talk about the work of the peer helpers and their success at mediating conflicts and providing inclusive activities for the students, along with their guide, teacher, and counselor, Ms. Bravo.
Hello, school board and community members. We're here representing peer helpers. This is Cara Mora and Sheila. You might not know much about our program, but we are a group of 11 students who work to better our school. We help around our campus if a student is in need of support or simply needs someone to talk to. We're here to help. Peer helpers work with students to resolve conflicts through peer mediation. Most of the time, there are two students who are having a disagreement or argument. Mediators work as a team to find an agreement that works for everyone. At the end of each mediation, students sign a document that we help them create. Each student leaves with more skills to help them solve conflicts in the future. I like being a peer helper because I get to talk to kids to give them advice. So this is good for me because in the future I want to be a psychologist. I like being a peer helper because I get to help keep BGMS safe. I like doing mediations and events like Know Your Classmates Day, which you can see the banner up there, where everyone in the school shared something about themselves. Thank you for your time.
Okay, so as everyone knows, one of our flagship programs at Bethel Grove is our web program, Where Everybody Belongs. This program is provided by Boomerang, which is a you get back what you give program. So we know that web is a middle school program that orientates sixth graders, teaches 8th graders to be mentors to 6th graders, so that they have a successful first year. They do several activities which they will talk to you about in a minute. Web is also funded by our Willits Police Department, and they are the sole funders of our web program, so we are really grateful to them for the funding. But Web also provides an anti-bullying program for our sixth graders to be able to be safe at Bechtel through the lessons that our web leaders give them. So here to talk to you about Web are Kira, Ella, Caitlin, Christian, and Sean. And they're going to talk to you about, share some success stories with you about Web, along with their advisor for at least the 10 years that I've been at Bechtel, Ms. Hendricks.
I'm Sean, I'm part of Web, and today I'm going to talk about the orientation, which is the thing at the beginning of the year where we connect the sixth graders, show them around to our school. And we start out by introducing them to the gym, saying hi to them, introducing ourselves. And we show, like we do a couple activities in the beginning to show them, and to have some fun, show them that we're cool. And we spread out. Like after that, all the activities we do, we spread out and we introduce them to the web leaders, like the 2 web leaders. And we take them around the school, show them around, show them all the different classes that we go into, any questions they have. And we take them to a classroom and do different activities, like activities such as one called My World, where there's a piece of paper where they write down 5 things about themselves so we can connect with them more. And after, we go and we have a barbecue, so we can talk to them, connect, like see if they have any questions or if they anything they want to talk about, like anything they're scared of, or we can help them out before they come to our school.
So I'm Kayla. And I'm Kira. And we're going to talk about academics. So once a month, we go into classrooms as a pair of 2, and we go into a 6th grade core class, and we do fun activities, but also we have a purpose behind it. So some of the like topics that we talk about are lift ups, which can show students how to lift each other up instead of putting each other down. Catch an attitude, which shows that an attitude can be contagious. And rumors, where we teach them how to like handle rumors and how not to spread rumors. So during academics, we want to create a bond with our 6th graders so we can trust them and they can trust us, and we can just have a happy, healthy environment.
And we are web leaders at Bechtel Grove. We are part of the social group in Web, which we do organize social activities with the 6th graders. Some socials we've done are field days. We did an ice cream social, and we just did a scavenger hunt. At the ice cream social, we basically like touched bases with them to see how they were doing. And during the scavenger hunt, it let the 6th graders come together to find all the clues to learn.
All the socials include fun and competitive activities that we do for 6th graders once a month. We strive to make socials a place where web leaders and weblets interact in a fun way. The 6th graders often stop us in the hall to tell us how much fun they have with the socials. They also talk to us about problems they have at school because we've made a relationship with them. And I think Web is a great program that makes 6th graders feel welcome at it.
Hi, my name is Christian. I am part of the Web tutoring program, and what I do is I go to different 6th grade classes on Thursdays and help them with whatever kind of schoolwork they need help on. Right now I am reading with a student from Mr. Petray's class, but the Web tutoring program is just open to all 6th graders.
The web program is an amazing program. I fortunately am really just a facilitator this year. They've taken over control of what happens. I just kind of move them in the direction that they need to go. They're making, I want to say, 95% of the decisions, and that's really the true leadership part of the web program. Plus, they're making an amazing environment for our sixth graders and helping them feel comfortable here at Bethel Grove. Thank you for your time.
Okay, we have a few more. One of our more successful academic programs at Bethel is our AVID program. AVID has helped to transform Bethel Grove into a more successful middle school through teacher effectiveness, student learning, leadership, and equity. AVID energizes and refreshes teachers by providing strategies that are effective with students, that engage students, with appropriate post-secondary preparation and a focus on soft skills that businesses need. AVID students are college and career ready. Through the support of AVID, I, as an administrator, have been able to find the resources needed to change, to provide institutional change for AVID, for Bechtel. With AVID, our school provides high expectations, access, and support for students to succeed in rigorous courses that lead to college. So here today, Esperanza, a sixth grade student, will show you what they have learned, and Natalie, an eighth grade student, AVID student, Natalie has actually been in AVID all 3 of her years at Bechtel, is going to give you her passion speech. Along with their sixth grade AVID teacher, Ms. Larson.
Hi, my name is Esperanza Sanchez. I'm in 6th grade. I've been in AVID, this is my first year at Bechtel. And it's one of my favorite electives because, well, we have a lot of things that help me with my homework, and I've been enjoying it.
Let's push the down arrow on the keyboard.
So, AVID presentation. So, how has AVID helped me? AVID has helped me in many ways. For example, AVID has something called CSGs. What are CSGs? CSGs are worksheets that we keep in our binder, and every week we fill one out. We write down a math problem that we don't understand, and we try to get as far as possible in understanding. On Thursday, we form groups and talk about each other's problems. We work as a group. My bad, sorry.
It's not a technology.
As a group until we get as far as possible in understanding it. It helps to understand things in new ways. How has AVID helped you? AVID will help you in many ways. It will also help you with homework by taking Cornell notes. What are Cornell notes? Cornell notes are taken during class lectures, class PowerPoints, class readings, and can be used for homework help. Why I want AVID in high school? I want AVID in high school because I think if we had it in middle school, then we should have it in high school. I also think we need AVID in high school because what's after what's after high school, college. High school students should be given an opportunity to see how college works. Also, AVID will help keep students organized and prepared to see colleges that suit them and help them decide what to be and how to get there. How will AVID help you in the future? AVID will help you in many ways. For example, AVID helps students grow in their writing, critical thinking, teamwork, organization, and reading skills. All of these will help in the future. AVID quotes from students that have been in AVID. AVID helped me be organized. Thomas South. AVID helped me with my homework through study groups and tutorials. I also learned how to stay organized. Ruby Thompson. AVID helped me learn new skills necessary for college to sell silver. AVID helped me realize the importance of each assignment to keep up with my GPA. Abiel. And then do something today that your future self will thank you for.
Okay, my name is Natalie Oshie-Carrillo, and my passion is traveling. When I say travel, I don't mean going to Ukiah, I mean traveling across the world. I have been in Mexico every year since I can remember. I would even describe it as a family tradition. The first time I went to Mexico, I was 4 months old. Obviously, I don't remember the trip, but I think this is when my passion for traveling started. My family and I mostly travel by plane, but once in a while, we travel by car. When I go to Mexico by car, my dad goes a long way. We travel through Arizona, New Mexico, Texas, and finally Guanajuato. The reason why I go to Mexico so much is simple. Both of my parents are full Mexican and were born in Mexico with my 10 aunts and 13 uncles. I have a pretty big family with a lot of cousins. Even though some of my aunts and uncles moved to the United States, a lot of them are still in Mexico. We go to visit them since they don't have papers to come here. One of the best parts of traveling is the views. What I mean is all the sunsets, cacti, rocks, little buildings at night, and for some reason I love looking at the exits. Every time we would stop to get gas or check into the hotel, the first thing I would do is find a perfect angle and take a picture of the sunset. I can't even describe how beautiful it was. It was just so amazing how all those colors can blend into the sky like that. I've had a passion for travel as long as I can remember. I didn't discover this passion, it basically became a habit because I'm so used to doing it. When I get older, I would like to travel to a lot of places. My list is Australia because I want to see the animals, Thailand for the culture, and France for the food. I also want to travel to other states like Hawaii for the beaches, and to see family in Oregon, Illinois, Georgia, Florida, and New York. Even though I started traveling because I was a kid with no choice and I was forced to, I love it. In the future, I am going to continue the family tradition of traveling and see the world.
Okay, so part of our college-going culture, as part of our college-going culture, we have a career day, a college and career week. And here to talk to you about our career day and our college and career week is Anya and Miss Bravo, who puts together the career day for our students.
Okay, so what I have to say about Career Day is that it is an undertaking, but it is worth every second of planning. This year, our community came together to help us out. There was a lot of people who chose to give their time to talk to our students about their future. And outside of that, I've had a lot of student help. I had about 18 students helping me plan the day and execute day of. So here's one of them.
Hello, I'm Anya Schwebs, and I'm an 8th grader at Bechtel Grove Middle School, and I'm here to talk about the events that happened on Career Day. Career Day is an annual event that is done at Bechtel Grove. The day consists of many different speakers from the community that talked about their careers. They explained what is done in their work environment daily and what education or training was required. This year we had over 25 speakers and ended the day with a rally. I had the opportunity to see a variety of speakers. The first was metal effects, where I learned about sheet metal production, and the other speakers came from Willits High School and spoke about different careers and technical education pathways. I learned about welding classes, performing arts, and my favorite was patient care pathway. Career Day gave me information that is going to help me make informed decisions about my classes for next year. When I'm in high school, Career Day was very fun and it made me feel inspired about the future.
I hope that you're seeing our main thread here. We have a lot of community support at Beckman for all of our programs. And now, another one of our community events is the Community Crockpot that is put together by our Communicators for Kindness. And here to talk about that is Cassie with her advisor, their advisor, Ms. Larson.
Hi, my name is Cassie, and I'm a member of Communicators for Kindness. The purpose for our club is to unite our community and our school through events during the year to try to stop bullying at our school and in our community. So far this year, we held a planned sale to help raise money for the end of the year field trips. All the money was donated to the rest of the school. We did not keep any for the club. We felt it was important to help our school community earn money. The second event we held was our third annual Crock-Pot event, which took place last week. We handed out flyers at school and in the community and invite local businesses to enjoy homemade crock-pot dishes that we, the club members, make ourselves. During the event, people share stories about how they have been bullied or when they have been the bullies. We talk about what it feels like when this happens and connect with each other through these stories. Our final event this year will be a sidewalk chalk mural competition. Last year it was our first year. We held this event and we were looking forward to this year's competition being bigger and better. We hope to see you at our next event and support kindness and community in Willits.
Okay, excuse me. And last but absolutely not least, in most board presentations, we have not brought sports to you because that's something that you go and see all the time. But you, being a very sports-minded board, I decided that we should have students talk to you about their sports at Bethel Grove. So we all know that athletics is an important part of adolescence, right? Learning new physical skills and sportsmanship and the thrill of activity and competition are all important to adolescent development. At Bethel Grove, we make sure that our athletes are doing well academically as well as in their sports. So this is, again, another area where we have a lot of community help because our parents are constantly driving our students there and helping us with coaching and etc. So here to tell you about their experience in sports, let's see. Kira is going to talk about volleyball and softball. Kyla is going to talk about soccer, and Sean is going to talk about basketball. Did I get that right? Kayla. It's one of the K's.
Hi, I'm
Kira, well, I've already been up here, but I'm going for volleyball and softball.
I'm Kaylin, I'm going to talk about soccer.
I'm Sean, and I'm talking about basketball.
So during the sports season, you have tryouts, and then you get into your practices and games and everything. But during games, you also have to keep your grades up. So about once a week or every other week, you have to do a grade check slip, and you have to go to all of your teachers, get their signature and what grade you have, and like turn it into your coach.
So during sports, it's taught me how to keep my grades up, because if I don't, then I can't play in that like game that week. And it's also taught me like how to like work with my team, because if you don't work and work together, then you can't like really like get to the other side of the field.
Yeah, just like them, I keep my grades up, and it helps me stay on track with my grades. And I usually like definitely don't get bad grades because my parents get mad, but it's and also basketball takes off a lot of stress on me because I've been playing basketball for as long as I can remember. Basketball has always been one of my favorite sports, and yeah, it helps me get through things.
Sports is definitely like my relief spot. Like, if I'm having a hard day at school, I just think, okay, right after school I just get to go to practice, or I get to leave half an hour early and go to my game. But it also keeps me like on my toes, because when I do miss class, I have to go the next day and go get my work and do my work to be able to play in those games. Missing school for.
So something that like always inspires me is my coaches, Sabrina Rodriguez and Martine Rodriguez, and they have always just like made me into like a better person and a better player, because they teach us like teamwork, and like they always like just try to make us better, because if you don't do something right, like they'll make you run laps, and like that's their way of like teaching us. So that always like inspired me to like do my best and just try harder.
Like Kayla said, I had amazing coaching this year. It taught me a lot, like, and my coach pushed me through a lot, and that helped me get better at basketball. And like just showing up at practices just takes off everything. And I never really got like and just basketball helps me through everything. And it always helps me up.
Okay, so thank you.
Okay, and as always, you're welcome to and encouraged to attend any and all of our activities going forward, such as tomorrow we have Pi Day lessons in all of our classrooms. Friday we have honors assemblies. Next Wednesday we have drama club meetings after school. Next Thursday and Friday we have anti-bullying presentations by some of our avid 8th graders in other classes in 7th period. On Monday, we have 5th grade visitation coming here. And do not miss, on March 29th, we have the annual BGMS Renaissance Fair, which you will want to see. And on April 13th, the 8th grade band will take their trip to Six Flags Band Festival at Six Flags Vegas. So, thank you for allowing us to share our successes.
Thank you very much. Moving on down the schedule, the agenda. We are WTA comments.
So it was really kind of interesting listening to them and looking at Claire and remembering when she was here with this group and how nerve-wracking it was. And I commend all of you for standing up and talking and sharing your experiences. Maybe someday you can be sitting on that board too. Short and sweet report. The negotiations team met with the superintendent February 26th and 27th, and we will be meeting again on April 4th. Okay, thank you.
Yes.
Oh, sorry.
CSEA, Mr. Green.
Good evening, everyone. Good job. Takes a lot of courage to get up here and talk. I'm still not good at it. We don't have a lot to talk about. If you folks have any questions, it's great to answer them. But I think the moment should be left with the kids tonight.
Thank you, sir. Superintendent comments.
Okay. Well, even though they're leaving, I'm going to say a couple of things about Bechtel that I really appreciate. Number one is, we really, 3 years ago when I came here, we embarked on a new schedule. We keep refining that. Maria and I have met several times, and we now have a new schedule based off all the things we were doing before. But art and music are a full part of that, which they have not been before. The math folks, Liesel and Ludwig, have done a great job of embracing a new math program. The kids use an IXL program, or a iReady program, and I'm really pleased with how that's going. I know they're doing interim testing, and so we're in a good place in getting better at Bechtel. I'm really pleased with the progress they've made at the school. And change is a constant, and they've embraced that and made it better. So I'm really pleased with how things are going here, and there's artwork all over the place, and our schedule's designed to eliminate a lot of problems based on 6th, 7th, and 8th all have a different schedule. Brunches and lunches are at different times, because imagine at Brookside if the principal just sent everybody to lunch at the same time. It's chaotic. Well, that happened about 7 times a day previously at Bechtel. Now we have our own schedules that are based on where the exploratories fit in and what works for students. And so it's been an interesting transition and change, but I think we're now kind of refined into a good place with the new schedule. And I'm sure Maria and I have to work out some details of just how we're going to use some things, but I think we have our time schedule down, and I think the staff will be very pleased with how that works out. I'll give a negative note, but the students are gone. Remember the snow day? Well, unfortunately, that means you come on the 15th. So it was nice to have the snow day, but the downside is we have to make that one up. So that's on the 15th. A couple other things. We do now have a student resource officer on place. The city has come through with an officer. Ryan has been making rounds all around the district. He's been at Blosser, he's been at Brookside, he's been here at Bechtel, and he's at the high school. And so I'll be meeting with him and the admins, and we'll develop a schedule and kind of duties we need him to help us with, one of which will be attendance. And so we're really pleased to have somebody on board. As I told the board, there's no way to document the value of a student resource officer other than the fact that I know we have somebody quality on our side helping us out when we have unique issues. And so I'm really pleased that the city was able to get that taken care of.
What's his name?
Ryan, is it Stockman?
Stockoff.
Okay. Yeah, I thought it was Stockoff. Yeah. Great guy. Seems to relate well to students, and I think he's going to be a really good addition for us. So I'm very pleased. I had an LCAP meeting last night with our constituent group, and we talked through a lot of issues that they brought up, and I brought them back some data. And so now we're looking at things where we could enhance, improve, change, move. And so we have a couple meetings left to get that done with, but it's a great representative group. I want to give Blosser a shout out on something that I'm really pleased about. One of my concerns is we spent a lot of time in language arts unlocking the code and making sure we're getting where we need to be there, but I couldn't let math just sit alone. At Brookside, the kids leave mathematically pretty good because the math isn't at a level that's as difficult. Our issues in math tend to be 3 through 5. That's multiplication, division, fractions, decimals, percentage. That's a Blosser thing. And so we put into place an IXL program, and all the teachers have carved out a half a day or half an hour where the students come down and get online. They have done 270,000 questions since mid-February. And it is all exactly what we've talked about before. When we've had these discussions about math, the kids need to be able to use the technology. They need to be able to use the mouse and manipulate it. They need to see on screen and do math. It's exactly what it is. You know, I don't want to foreshadow anything, but I'm assuming 3rd, 4th, and 5th grade math is going to perform a lot better this year. And it's really something that they embraced, and they figured out how to schedule it in. Tech did their job and got us the Chromebooks to move around. So I think it's going to give some really solid impact to what we're doing. And it's designed where if a student goes on, they take a diagnostic, and then it places them where they need to go, and it lets them go at their own pace. So if they're accelerated, they may be a 3rd grader doing 4th grade stuff. If they're a 3rd grader behind, they might be doing some 2nd grade things. But it goes out every standard as they master it. So a teacher could hand a parent, here's all the standards for 3rd grade math. The ones that are ghosted out are the ones that your students already mastered. This is what we're working on. And they can do it from home. So I'm really pleased with the progress we've had so far. 50 inches of rain have given us a task for the summer. Pretty much every summer project I had got canned. We're going to be doing a lot of roof work. And we took in a lot of that 50 inches. In every single site had a water issue. Every one of them. So we got our work cut out for us in the summer. It's going to be a little hot up on the roofs for some of our folks, but we don't really have any choice. We've got to take care of those issues. One other thing, I am going to meet with the city and the Howard Foundation again to talk one more time about the pool. We have kind of a crossroads with the pool. The covers that go over the pool are really expensive. They're about $15,000 to replace. Ours are pretty worn out. I've been fairly adamant, before we spend that kind of money on covers, we really need to have a conversation about putting the tent over the top. The tent is $60,000 to put over the top. We're going to spend $15,000 just to put blanket over it. Doesn't make a lot of sense to me. And so by doing that, we would have an enclosed pool, basically mid-October till the end of March. You have an enclosure over the top of the pool. It heats itself because the water gets heated. That water stays inside the bubble. You don't even have to heat it. We would have a year-round pool. And then as soon as it's done, you take it down, it fits in a 4x8 crate. I mean, it's the ideal way to have a pool for us that we could use year-round. So before we invest in something that's kind of a short-sighted thing for me, I think we need to look at long-term, what do we want to do with the pool? And it'll be one of those things, certainly the school district's not forking up the $60,000 to do it. The pool is a city-owned, school-managed, community resource that we need to get a group of people involved to hit the mark to do that. So you'll probably hear some talk about that as we go. One other thing, on April 24th, we're on spring break. For sure, Alex, but any one of the board members are invited to the city council meeting. The city council has a single agenda item that night, and it's about fire safety, protection, zones. CAL FIRE is going to be there. It would be really nice to have the school represented there. They wanted to have a joint board meeting between the two. Unfortunately, it's our spring break and we meet April 10th. But I think it'd be really important if Alex for sure could be there, because obviously it's your wheelhouse, and you know, we really need to, as a school, we are the place where they go when we have evacuations, we're the safety zone, we use the buses to transport, so. And obviously, any resources we have during the wildfire are community resources, so.
City Club.
I'm not sure what the time is.
6:30.
The city, what time does the city council usually start? I'm not sure, I'll get you the details on it, but it's April 24th for sure. Okay? Thank you.
Board comments. Start with Claire.
We just had our third trimester start at the high school, and like they talked about with the career day, we had a group of Willits High School students who were able to come over and talk about pathways, CTE pathways, so career technical education pathways, and we were able to give presentations to the students. That was good. Torrin Henderson, he did really well in shot put for track, and all of our other sports are starting and kicking off, starting games. Akadeka is going to state this month, March 23rd, and FFA is going to the regions, and they have 3 kids competing in extemporaneous, impromptu, and prepared public speaking. And we want to thank everybody who helped with that. Thank you, Mr. Chavez, for judging. And that's all I have.
Thank you.
I just want to say that I taught at Bethel Grove for 10 years, and I'm really impressed with the programs that they've instituted here and how well Bethel Grove seems to do. So they're really nice young people. I wish they were still here, so I could say it to them directly. I was impressed. And with the staff also. I went by and looked at the art exhibit at the Art Center, and it's very, very nice. They're doing really nice things.
Paul?
Well, I want to ditto what Jeannie said, and I forgot to tell y'all last month that I went to the, wasn't a chorus, the musical presentation that Bechtel did over at the high school, and they did do a really nice job. It was a big deal. Sort of the one that the high school did wasn't nearly as full of a band, you know, so it was real interesting to see that hopefully in a couple of years, you know, Bechtel's kids will continue to stay and play at the high school band, you know. That was a big deal. Anyway, it was called the Winter Night Concert. Okay, there you go. I went to go see La Vida School, and that was an interesting event. You know, it's really beautiful out there. That was a big deal. I hadn't been there except to the mobile homes on one side. I met with Alex and Mark for the discussion on facilities. I know that those conversations are going to come up more and more frequently. We're going to meet a few more times. You know, I still believe, as I said earlier, that we have a lot of maintenance time now, and I truly believe that in conjunction with whatever else comes along, will put our schools back up to the top where they belong, regardless that they are older than they were. The other thing is I went to an in-service about treating children with trauma. And even though they're not here, a couple of their employees were the after-school club people, that Laura Painter and some of the others, especially her aides. They all attended the in-service. It was a big deal because it was a whole Saturday. I'm not certain they got paid. I know they were fed breakfast and lunch, but that's not often enough. And they really, the place offered us a number of things. I brought some of the things for the district to maybe take advantage of. It's free, the in-services that they offer. All you have to do is, well, all you have to do is pay for teachers and others to show up, and then they can be in service. But the in-services are free, and all their materials are. A lot of it is sort of common sense, you know, you be sure and be respectful and empathetic to everyone you encounter. But especially young children need it, sometimes a little extra than the rest. Yeah. I'm interested in attending LCAP meetings, so I need from you the next time you have a meeting. And basically, it just looks like things are gonna start finding themselves a little more in order. I was pleased to hear that negotiations have started, even though sometimes it's slow and difficult when you're not certain of budget monies. I didn't make it to Blosser more than once, even though I am their rep, but things haven't changed much from the people that I did speak with from the time I went before, so you don't need to hear that twice. And that's pretty much all I had to say, except that I read, one last thing that isn't quite the plus, is that I read all the safety reports from all the sites that teachers and administration got together and wrote up. And I only had one question for Deckle Grove because everything else seemed to be going in place so well. And so maybe either we can meet or do something and you can kind of explain to me some of the things I didn't quite understand why they are the way that they are, okay?
Sure.
Oh, okay, thank you. And, okay, good. Thank you. Okay.
Let's see. Thank you to Maria and all of your students and staff for a wonderful presentation tonight. It's really nice to see all the things that you guys have, a lot of irons in the fire. So it's pretty awesome. I'm getting more and more involved in kind of some behind-the-scenes budget kind of things, and I'd be interested in meeting with Tessa and Mr. Green with respect to how maybe we can put some more pressure on our legislators to push for more adequate funding. Because unfortunately, if we take a look at the problems that face our district, some of them can be fixed by just rolling up your sleeves and getting down to work. But only so much of that stuff can actually be accomplished until we actually have a budget that gives us the flexibility to do the things that we need to do. Budgets become much more of a focus in years where we negotiate, which of course is this year. And it's kind of forcing some of us to take a closer look at the budget, the inadequacies, and try and determine ways we can solve some of those inadequacies. And quite frankly, I don't want to balance the budget on the backs of teachers or on the backs of CSEA employees. It's not fair, it's not reasonable. But unfortunately, the way the budget is set up and the way the state funds us, our options are limited. So I'd like to talk more about how we can push our legislators to do more. That's what it boils down to. With that, I'll move on. Robert?
I also had an opportunity to visit Levita, and I appreciate your hospitality. That was very nice. Thank you. I've had an opportunity to visit a number of schools and attend many activities. And one thing that makes me very grateful is the hard work that the staff is putting in, and to watch our students shine. But so many of our students wouldn't have that opportunity if it wasn't for the staff. And I know that because there's a lot of hard work that goes into that. So thank you so much, staff. And thank you, shining students.
Thank you.
But I'm very proud to be a member of this community. Thank you.
Mr. Colby?
I would say thank you very much for the Dr. Brooke presentation. Very, very nice. It's, like Alex said, it's nice to see so many teachers that are helping students in other areas besides just the classroom. Thank you.
Let's see, board comments. Action discussion. Do we have any public comment on the consent agenda items? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda.
I'll move to approve the consent agenda.
And a second?
Second.
Any discussion? And I'll call for the vote. All those in favor of approving the consent agenda? Aye.
Aye.
Any nays? Passes. Item C, Charlie, approval of resolution, elimination of particular kinds of service, 1.0 FTE middle school science instructional services.
Part of my goal in looking at our schedule is that I have to look at staffing. And so one of our issues was that, as I've told both negotiating groups, my goal is to reduce our spending by $300,000 this year coming up. which will in turn be another 300 the following year, which will give us about a $600,000 savings. The district has a structural deficit of about 600,000. So in other words, if we do what we did last year, our assigned pay increases based on steps and STRS and PERS increases, we spend about 600,000 more the next year just to do business the way we did the previous. So my goal is to over a 2-year window reduce that down so we don't have that in place. Essentially, we'll be in a what I call a neutral kind of position, and that's where we need to be. Anything I do in regards to reduction is never laying off or eliminating program things. But when we have opportunities for outside funding, when we look at staffing issues, we wait till we have an opportunity. So this position, eliminating of the position does not create a layoff. There'll be no layoff based on that. So I just wanted, this is a perfunctory thing that you do when you reduce down the number of staff positions that you have in place. And this will do several things. It'll free up some funds that are in LCAP that is already budgeted for this position. It will also allow us to reduce some funding in other places to help us with getting to where we need to be financially. Because we have to, basic rule of thumb is you don't spend more than you take in. And we spend more than we take in. So my goal is to get us to that position. And this is one of many things. It's just one of the pieces.
Okay. I'll entertain a motion to approve Resolution 2018-19-14.
I second it.
So I'm going to put you as a first.
Oh, I'm first, okay.
And anybody go second?
I'll second.
Okay. Is there any discussion with the board?
Just that I'd like to make it clear that we spoke about this too in closed session, and it's not something, not closed session in our meeting, it's not something that affects class sizes or anything else. Most of you understand about age bubbles, and how a grade level will have a lot of kids, and then another year or two it may have very few in that exact same grade level. And this is one of those things that seems to be carrying itself. There's a couple of grade levels actually. So it did work out to be an appropriate time, and there are other teachers that have appropriate credentials that can cover those classes that are no longer being needed according to the schedule and the number of students. So it's not like it's going to be an effect to the rest of the teaching staff where they're going to go from 25 to 30 now because they lack a spot. To me, that's real important.
Correct. So it's been, we have a first and a second. Any further discussion? Call for the vote. This is a resolution, so it's roll call. Mr. Colvin?
Aye.
Mr. Chavez?
Aye.
Ms. Newton?
Aye.
Me?
Aye.
And myself, aye. So, sorry? And item E, approval of the 2018-19 second interim budget report. I'm sorry?
You want to do these?
Oh, I'm sorry, D. I'm sorry, jumped you. I brought my glasses and didn't take them out of my pocket. My apologies. Consideration of La Vida Charter School renewal, July 1, 2019 to June 30th of 2024. We had La Vida's presentation at our last board meeting. I'll entertain a motion to approve.
I move to approve.
Yes, and a second.
I'll second.
Chavez, any discussion by the board?
I went through our checklist. There's, how many were there, training? 100 and something?
14 pages.
There were 14 pages of a checklist that I go through. So when Levita gave you that set of encyclopedias, there's a reason for that. And so I went through all of that data. There was a couple things that Ann and I had worked out. They got those taken care of. I found one minor thing we don't have today, but it's not a deal breaker or anything, and I'll get with Ann and we'll work that out. It's a piece of paper that talks about their accounting system. So I look at it differently than some other folks. I did the same thing with Willits charter. It asked me to rate, is it strong, is it satisfactory, or is it not there? I'm not in a position to evaluate whether they're an A, a B, or a C. My job is to say, have they met the standard? And so when you go through my checklist, you'll see that virtually everything is satisfactory. It doesn't mean that they don't do anything really well. It's just not my place to grade them. My job is to evaluate, have they met the criteria for us to grant the charter? And the answer to that question is yes. And so my recommendation is that we grant the charter to Levita. They've met those standards, and yes, some were strong, some were okay, but everything met the standard for me. So if you want to look at my checkoff sheet, you're more than welcome to, but I don't do that, and in fact, I note at the bottom that, do you remember my exact statement, Trina? Sure. Yeah. I make a very specific statement because I don't think it's appropriate for us to grade Levita and put that out as a public document.
You want me to read it?
Sure, you get yours up.
The review was based on the requirements, not rating the charter's school performance. Sufficient indicates that the requirements have been met.
So I want to make sure that folks understand that. They're more than welcome to look at my check sheet, but they did check all the boxes, and we have one minor thing that we're going to resolve, and I'm very confident we'll do that quickly. So they have met those standards and done their homework and provided us what we needed.
Any further discussion of the board?
I just want to say that I didn't come to the visitation because after I retired, I taught for a while at Levita, so I was familiar with the program. And I know that they serve a very particular group of parents and families, and that they serve some children that have found a home there that need a home. So anyway, they have a nice program.
It's clear that Levita fills a niche for some students and families that may not be able to succeed in the public school model, and we appreciate that and fully support that. Call for the vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any nays? Welcome to another 5 years. Now we're on to
I'm wondering, did Andy do one?
I have the first pass on the MOU. And a hard copy of the second interim, which I'll email. But
And I'll get with you.
yeah, thank you. Well, since I'm up here, thank you very much. We're really pleased to be doing another 5 years. It's really a pleasure. Take care. And Mark, I always appreciate your support. You're awesome.
let's see. We have a motion to approve the 2018-19 second interim budget report.
I will adhere to my colleague to let her explain this to you.
So as Mark mentioned, and I know that we've talked about many times, we do have a structural deficit in our budget. We, for 2018-19, have a smaller deficit than we do in the out years. That is primarily a result of the one-time mandate reimbursement funds that we got under the 18-19 state budget. We have received those several years in a row, and I don't see anything like that in the proposal going forward, so I don't anticipate we will be seeing those types of one-time funds in the way that we did with Jerry Brown. And so I did want to point out that when you look at the assigned component of our fund balance, I do show, I think it's a little over $200,000 of that one-time reimbursement. I do include that in the assignment just to help identify that, our deficit would be larger if we did not have that one-time fund. So then you can see in 1920 and 2021, At first interim, we were looking at well over $600,000 of a deficit. And right now, that is closer to $300,000 in those 2 years, and that is primarily due to the new projections for the governor's proposed state budget. So a new calculator has been issued, and based on our projections for ADA and the new COLA data and the amount that they believe they will have available at the state level, it's looking like we may receive more funding. One of the things we had talked about in trying to narrow that deficit was that we understand the variability and how difficult it is to predict these revenue projections in out years. And so while $600,000 or more is not a comfortable place to be in terms of a deficit, it did not feel reasonable to us to try to narrow that solely through expense reductions. Because we don't want to be in a position where we have eliminated expenses and then the revenue projections change and we have more than what we had identified. And so that was why we had been targeting about half of our deficit as what we needed to focus on in terms of expenses. And I think that second interim projections are the perfect illustration of why that's a reasonable strategy. I will say that I still feel maybe less comfortable with these revenue projections than I have in prior years at second interim. Jerry Brown was, I think, fairly predictable in how he interacted with the legislature, and most of us in the school finance community felt pretty comfortable that what his January proposals came out with, we would see a pretty similar version of that budget adoption. Right now, we have a new governor, and I'm not entirely sure, how close to his proposal they will stay when they get to budget adoption. So I just want to put that out there as a caveat. There's a kind of two main pieces for me that I'm looking at as we go forward and looking at the May revision that he puts out, and that is the COLA. Right now, the funding model that they are proposing to use for that 1920 budget puts us in a position where it's solely dependent on the state revenues. Depending on the year, there are sometimes some other components of the calculation, and in this particular calculation, it will pretty much rest on those revenues. And if those come in lower, that means we could be looking at a lower COLA than what he's proposing. So that's one piece I'll be watching. And then the other piece I'll be watching is that he made a proposal to buy down some of the STRS unfunded liability, which would help the districts by having a 1% lower STRS rate in 1920 than what was originally projected. So right now they were projecting 18.1, and under his proposal we would be at 17.1. Still very, very high, but it was nice to have him acknowledge the strain that is putting on districts and make some attempts to bring that down a little bit. So did want to let you know that I did incorporate that assumption. The 17.1% is in there for next year in the multi-year projection. Some other major changes that we've seen since first interim, Mark I know has talked multiple times about the bus grant that we were able to get, so that revenue as well as the expenditure, because it's now in our possession, are both here in the 18-19 budget. And then we're working on a second one, but I have not included that yet. I'd like to wait until we know more about that.
If the drinking fountain thing I put in is 200,000+, if we get that, you'll see an addition of revenue, but also the same addition of expenses.
Right. It nets out, yeah. And we've also had several other newer grants come along this school year, some new categoricals. And I think we had included the learning communities for school success, I believe was incorporated at first interim already. But what had not yet been incorporated and now is the differentiated assistance and the low performing school block grant and and the classified professional development fund. So those are all specific state funds that have come through very targeted use.
Rob's trying to
And then to chime in on something Alex said, this is, they give you $1 and it seems like there's $1.10 and strings attached to it. It's never just, hey, Willits, we're going to give you X amount more, fund what you have and do a better job. It's always tied to something or one time.
Well,
Makes it incredibly hard to budget.
Again, that's one of my big frustrations is the fact that there are so many mandated costs that the state puts on us, or even the federal government puts on us with respect to how they spend the money. And in many of those cases, the reimbursements for those mandated costs don't even come close to actually covering the real cost of those mandates. And so where does the money come from to actually cover those costs? It comes out of the general fund. Well, what's that really do? It really lessens the amount of money that's available to teach kids. Because we're putting it into transportation, we're putting it into food services. And again, I got no issue with transportation, food services, or special ed. All those are absolutely vital programs that have to be maintained. But they should be maintained at levels that the state pays for right out of the gate. Just that simple. And we shouldn't be expected to take money that's intended to service the general population of kids and put it into programs that the state simply forces you to pay for, but doesn't actually cover. So again, I've got some deep frustrations with how the state does things. Another one, as an example, is the funding based on ADA, but the Williams report requires us to have, we get funded based on ADA, which might cover 95% of the students, but when we have enrollment, we have to pay for 100% of the books, 100% of the infrastructure, 100% of the teachers. It doesn't make a lot of sense. I mean, you come right out of there with a 5 to 10% deficit right down the top. It makes no sense. Mark and I talked about
class
some
action suit in my work.
Yeah, but again, somebody's got to take that bull by the horns and drag it in court. So maybe we're in a position to the tip of the iceberg to start that ball rolling. Who knows? But somebody has to grab that ball and start it rolling. And maybe we can do it, maybe we can't, but it's worth the discussion.
I just have a couple questions, in agreement with you. No. But the other, as you know, Nikki, I really love the way you set these up. They are just so much easier and better to read. And it's been that way for a few years. I don't mean like you just did it today, but still, anyway, that's a good thing. The other thing I'm a little concerned with is at one spot it says our COLA is 2.8, and at another one it says it's 3. So what is the approximate COLA for this year?
Where are you seeing?
Well, I could be misreading. It says revenues and other financing sources. This is the very
Are you
beginning.
right on the front page?
Yeah, well, once I am. The second time, I'm a few pages down, and there's another COLA set up, and it's for the revenues and other financing sources. It's exactly the, kind of the same code, but it changes, which is handy. I prefer to believe it was at 3 instead of 208.
I think it was about a column.
One of the things I would say, so in terms of,
It says COLA changes. So that, if I understand, when there's a COLA change, yeah.
that's saying it's a change between the columns. Are you looking at the multi-year projection for
Yeah.
what might be? And so what they do here is
This
like
one,
anything that we present in the projected year total, and then we show the 1920 projection, it's showing just a percentage change. And so it may not actually be tied to like the state COLA. It's just saying what's the percent change from that year to the next year.
Okay.
And then the other thing I would say is as you flip through the multi-year projection, you'll see at the very top, it makes it right very, very tiny. But the first section is the unrestricted, then we look at the restricted, and then there's a page where it shows them both combined. And so in those pieces, you will see different percentage changes for those different scenarios.
And that's sort of, part of my issue is I haven't had a chance to study the whole thing, but that's kind of what I'm asking. Since the 1 year to the next, if I'm not misunderstanding, is going to be about a 2.08% change. Is the COLA from the state about the same to cover that change?
No, not
So what is
necessarily,
our-
because the other part of that equation, like when we're looking at the LCFF revenue, is the ADA. And so you could have fluctuations that are based on your ADA, as well as the unduplicated count. So those things also can create changes, but I'm pulling out the calculator right now to double check. The newest calculator, they are projecting 3.7 as the COLA for in 1819, 3.46 in 1920, and 2.86 in 2021. And those were those pieces that I was mentioning. I feel maybe less certain than I have in prior years about whether it will shake out that way.
That'll be based on the revenues.
Yeah.
And they'll
Right.
make that readjustment.
So that'll be a piece, I'm interested to see what happens with that information. But yes, it doesn't necessarily tie into this percentage that you see on the website projection.
Oh, okay, so
It's
It
part of
can be
it,
that
but
it-
it's also influenced by ABA.
oh, okay. Okay, so now let me just ask you as clearly as I can. My understanding is that this year, whatever money the district received is to be given next year, unless our enrollment goes up. Okay, that's how our our income is supposed to be calculated, right?
Are you saying that, so with the state revenue for LCFF, they do give you the sort of grace period of either the current or prior year ADA.
Okay.
And so you would still be funded based on whatever the current year other conditions are, such as COLA. But if your ADA has dropped, you're allowed to use the prior year ADA if it is higher.
Okay, so that's what I understood. And so then, when they add when the COLA is added, okay, so that's something that you can count on to be added. If my current year is $15 million and the following year I lost 50 kids, I'll still get the 15 million. Will I get the 3 point whatever COLA attached to that 15 million? Isn't that the way that it works?
Yes, so there are other factors, so I
Right,
mentioned
that will change.
unduplicated count because the supplemental concentration grants are part of this larger number. And so your unduplicated count, you do not have that grace period. It is based on a 3-year rolling average. And so that is something that can fluctuate slightly. But you are right that so for instance, at first interim, I think we're at 15,416,000. And even though when I revisited our ADA projections, I actually increased that for this year, it did not go up because this year we're using last year's ADA, so that stayed very, very steady. And so, yeah, there's little pieces that will adjust, but the bulk of it is based on that ADA, and that you can use right now.
Okay, I just needed to make sure that was clear about the ADA is the bigger changer of most all of them.
Yes.
And otherwise, you can kind of calculate what you expect.
But if ADA goes up, there's a strong possibility that your percentage of supplemental concentration will go up as well.
Oh, well, yeah, and all of your costs for
Yeah,
another
because
teacher.
just based statistically average.
Right.
If you have 100 kids in Willits, 70% of those might be unduplicated additions. So, yeah, I mean, but that's a statistical average until you actually do the numbers.
Okay. And then my only other question about this, because like I said, I didn't get to look at it much yet, but there is the reserve for economic uncertainties, and it's a little over $1 million, or 1.2, right? Okay, and so then the unassigned and unappropriated, that's not being called the restricted, that's...
Right, so this front page is unrestricted side of the budget only.
Okay. Okay, and so then that 1.2, 223,000, et cetera, amount of money is like 8% or?
It's 6%
This is only 6
of our, yeah.
of the 15?
6% of our total general fund expenditures. So the interesting thing is we see that reserve only on the unrestricted side, but it is calculated against the total expenditures, including restricted expenditures.
Okay, so then earlier we were talking about an uncalculated or a separate part of the unrestricted reserve, right? The economic uncertainties money, isn't that what you were?
There's one
Oh,
for
okay.
economic
Is-
uncertainty, then there's an additional part.
An additional part. Is the additional part the 1.8? Or would,
Yes, the one,
okay.
yeah.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
essentially, when you look at where it says the ending fund balance is at 3.8 million,
yeah,
then you see we have a very small amount for revolving funds, so 2,500. We have some assigned funds, which I mentioned one of those was the management
yeah, that nearly
costs.
800,000.
And then the reserve for economic uncertainty, and then what's left after those things are deducted.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay, I
So
sort
that,
of
those are
wasn't
all those
positive.
components equal the total ending fund balance.
Oh, okay. Thank you a lot, Nikki. I
No problem.
just sometimes am not certain. Okay.
Okay. Any further discussion on the budget? I'll entertain a motion to approve the interim budget.
I'll motion to approve it.
And a second,
I'll second it.
seconded by King. All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Any nays? Carries. And items F through T are first reads for a variety of policy changes. I will acknowledge the fact that everybody's got some great reading to do there. And anybody had any discussion on items F through T?
I had a question about Q, the board policy revision first reading regarding migrant education program. That seems, is that going to mean more staffing is needed? It seems like there's a lot that's being asked. So will
Well-
it require more staffing?
At this point, it isn't, but micronet is a really unique thing for us. We get very little money.
Okay.
And the money we get has been a pass-through, basically, to kids' clubs. I actually met with them today to talk about their summer program and what they're doing and how they're doing that. So 90% of all these changes, when you see a change in these first reads, have to do with either a new law or a court case that got settled. And school and college is just trying to protect our interests, and so there's a slight change to it. But there's no massive change to micronet as far as requirements.
I think we also receive migrant ed services funded through the Butte County Office of Education or something.
Yeah, it's one of
So
the,
there's some other agencies who fund positions that work in our schools, and that's not on our budget.
I see, okay.
Suzanne Ramirez, and she has a lady who comes a couple days to the high school. Those are funded through the Butte County because we're in a consortium for micronet. They get funded through that. The district's funding really is a pass-through.
Okay.
Is that also, you had an opportunity to speak to that Ray Perez today? Was he there?
He wasn't there, everybody else was.
Oh, okay, and so did you happen to see if they're gonna come up with some money for some custodial services?
That's what we talked about.
I hope so. Okay, good. And so do you know yet if anything is?
Well, Suzanne Ramirez, who's doing the migrant ed, she's the migrant ed coordinator. She wants to try and get some funding to do that.
Okay,
And I
good.
explained to him the scenario of, we let you use the facility for nothing. We do all these things. If I use that same scenario, I'd never charge anybody for anything. I can't give you the facility for nothing and give you custodial help for nothing as well. Plus, we put on a food service program for you. And so there's an issue with cleaning the rooms and cleaning, they use the gang bathrooms instead of special ed summer program uses the bathrooms in the classes because they're all little kids and it's kids for special ed. And so we talked about the issue. They are going to fund a custodian for their night event that they have and have somebody there for 6 hours. And yeah, we had Suzanne's going to go back and see if they can find the funding to do it. I told them I'd be glad to do it. I just can't donate it to you, because then I'm stuck, I have to donate to everybody.
Yeah.
I'll be donating it to anybody who uses the facility,
Uh-huh.
you know.
Okay, well, I appreciate that, thank
I
you.
mean, what we had talked about actually was an every other day. And I gave them a figure of, my guess is it would be somewhere in the neighborhood of 2 hours, 2.5 hours. And they could plan on a ballpark of $75 every time. And so, they'll see.
Okay, and just to make it clear to anybody who is still here, the cafeteria services are a wash generally. The state reimburses for the children fed. But it is an additional cost, and many of the people I've spoken with were not happy that for the last couple of years, in particular last year, there weren't any cleaning services. No one remembered that it cost money, you know, and so that was kind of an issue, and I'm just really pleased you were able to bring it up again. Thank you.
At Blosser, they use a 5 wings. They use,
Yeah.
I think it's 24 to 28 are the classrooms.
The 5th grade side.
Yeah,
Or,
and
it's not really, but that's.
As I told them, I said, I don't have any problem providing a service, but
Yeah.
when I provide a service, there has to be a reimbursement,
Money.
or I'm spending taxpayers' money on their summer program.
Yeah.
And I can't really do that.
Yeah. There are differing philosophies, but I do appreciate you bringing that up.
So let me bring us back to the meeting.
Mhm.
So any other discussion on items E through T, first reads? We'll have an opportunity to discuss those in the next board meeting.
F through T.
Pardon me?
F through T.
F. Okay. I guess it is F through T, pardon me. Any public comments for items not on the agenda? And hearing none, we can talk about items for the next meeting afterwards. I'd be interested in a motion to adjourn.
Also move.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Thank you.
Also,